So this is a sort of a follow-up video to my previous build, but you could consider it a different build as the playstyle is a bit different than the Lightning Chakram blade that I did. So this is still a low-life rogue, Bladedancer, but instead of using Chakram, we are using Shadow Cascade. Now the main reason for this is because, well, I don't think Chakram really did enough damage to hold up at higher levels of corruption. I think my highest right now is a 167 at Spirits of Fire, because I'm trying to farm my Fire Resist Blessing to free up another suffix on my gear, but I'll get to that later. So, this build, similar to the last one, revolves around 3 core uniques, being Exsanguinous and Last Steps of the Living, both doing the same thing of giving us a bunch of ward, draining health, converting that to ward, get the idea, and Zathar's Conundrum, which makes it so we can't leech or regenerate health, fully converts potion health to ward. Zathar's is technically optional here, however, it's very nice to have. The potion health converted to ward doesn't mess up your ward regen while you're in the middle of fighting stuff. You get a little bit of flat health from here. You can't regen health, which gives you a little more here too, but you don't have to run it with this setup. You can get more ward if you run a different ruby amulet, or if you still need to fill out resist, like physical resist. You could run like a bone amulet, or you could run whatever the crit amulet is. I don't remember, as I don't think the 35% increased crit chance is particularly worth it, especially on Bladedancer, where the tree already gives so much crit chance. So, I guess I'll go over the skills. So obviously, like I said, it's a Shadow Cascade build. And this build is very mana intensive because we take the 4 points into the Careful Assault node over in Shadow Cascade, which makes it so we do 100% more damage with specifically 4 shadows out. And we proc that with Synchronized Strike having Dark Allies, meaning whenever we use Sync Strike, 4 shadows come out, and then we Shadow Cascade for a ton of damage. But that makes Lethal, or not Lethal Mirage, my bad, Synchronized Strike costs 77 mana with 3 points into the dynamics for another 30% mana efficiency. So we offset that by getting not only a ton of mana regen, but by picking up Swift Recovery in the Shift tree. So that way we can Sync Strike, Shadow Cascade, Sync Strike, Shadow Cascade, Shift, rinse, repeat. That comes back to Shadow Cascade. So not only do we take Careful Assault and Shadow Cascade, we take Onslaught to get 25% of Shadow Cascade's mana refunded, which isn't huge, but what is the 6 mana we gain from each shadow when we use Shadow Cascade, which means we get 24 mana back just from using Shadow Cascade, plus the 25% from, so what, that's, I don't know, it's more than 24 mana, I don't feel like doing math. So, that's kind of the main focus of the build, is just Sync Strike Shadow Cascade, very similar to the last one, which was Sync Strike Shuriken. But I just find this one to be a lot better. As you can already tell, the damage numbers on this are way higher than Chakram was, and it's quite a bit more. It's not as spammable because we have to actually worry about mana, but it's also got better area coverage. It's more consistent boss damage overall. I feel like this is just better because we don't have to wait for a cooldown on Lethal Mirage. So I'll just go over the skills in general just to talk about, what needs to be allocated. So we take 2 points travel into Dismantle, pick up the 1 point travel into Execution, and then, like I said, the 4 points into Careful Assault. Then after that, take Onslaught and Fight in the Shadows. Pick up Rapid Expanse for just some AoE. It's also travel nodes to get to Precision. The 4% base crit chance I believe, is not calculated over here in your character sheet because it says 79% melee crit chance. I have never seen this not crit. Like, yeah. So, though you might only need 1 point into precision. I'm not sure. If you do, you can just swap the 1 point into rapid expanse just for some more AoE, or you could put it into execution for some more low health damage. There's not a whole lot of other generic damage we can get on here. But then after that, Crushing Darkness, we don't scale attack speed at all anyway, so this is just 30% more damage. And then similarly, Flow State is just another 30% more damage because we are using 2 swords. After that, Shadow Torrent, it's 12% more damage per shadow, gives us 48% more damage with our combo. Next up is Shift. Put the 3 points travel into velocity, put the 2 points into momentum, put 4 points into swift recovery, get that as soon as possible. I like to take Shadow Slip, invulnerability is just nice. Not sure how really effective it is, but I like it. Then come back into momentum, just finish that off for the move speed buff. Come up into Unseen Strike and Consumed by Shadows for a nice kill threshold, even though we do also have one on Lethal Mirage. This one's just kind of better for clearing. Sometimes if you just get like the Imperial Watchers or Profane Flesh, you can just Shadow Cascade them. They live with a little bit of health. You just shift right through them and they die. Broad Sweep for more AoE, and that's... I'll probably put my last 2 points, just 1 to Broad Sweep and 1 to Low Blow. What's important is just do not take Lasting Presence, because even though our max shadows is 5 because of Shadow Master, we don't ever want to generate shadows past 4 because of, what was it, Careful Assault? Yeah, Careful Assault and Shadow Cascade. Then we take Smoke Bomb. Smoke Bomb is a little mix of defensive and offensive here, but I would recommend rushing the defensive nodes first. Just take points of travel into Moonlight Bomb, and I like Cleansing Steam. It's nice for just getting rid of, say, like Armor Shred or Shock, you know, dangerous ailments that enemies can put on you in monos. And of course Moonlight Bomb for 300 ward and a guaranteed dodge. Then I would go over to Lingering Fumes and pick up Smoke Blades, and then Eroding Fumes and the last 2 points into Swirling Fog for a little bit faster application of that Armor Shred. So next is Sync Strike. Take Growing Darkness, just 1 point, then the 2 points into Foreshadowing, then 1 point into Dark Allies, 1 point into Dynamics, 2 into Art of the Blade, and then 1 into Perfect Coordination. That's what you need to really get this started, because you need the foreshadows and you need them to jump in, because having them kind of jump out, sure, it's going to feel better for your clear, but it makes bossing with this build a lot more janky. After that, I would recommend finishing off Dynamics, then finish off Foreshadowing, then get Coordinated Cuts for some more Armor Shred, and then go back into Growing Darkness for a little bit more AoE to synergize with that Armor Shred. Last skill, Lethal Mirage. This is what I choose to run. You could run whatever here. You could run Decoy for the distraction. You could run Ballista with Care Package for the potions. You could run... I don't know. You could probably run Dancing Strikes for something. I've never used this skill. You could run Acid Flask and manually throw it for more Armor Shred, or manually throw it for the haste buff. Important, though, is if you use Acid Flask, do not take the Parting Gift and Arrival Gift nodes, because these will consume your mana, and it makes it a lot more difficult to maintain your Sync Strike Shadow Cascade combo. So yeah. But I'll go over Lethal Mirage real quick. Start by taking 2 points into Magellan Blade, then the 2 points into Umbral Traversal, 1 point into Without a Trace, 2 points into Umbral Expanse, 3 points into Gloomy End, 1 point in Consuming Darkness, 2 points into Unending Mirage, and then you can put the rest of the points wherever, really. I would just say, again, don't take anything that creates shadows like Pact of the Desert. It'll ruin your combo with Shadow Cascade and Sync Strike. So next is the passives, I suppose. Steady Hand for Dex and flat health, Guile for free poison res and flat dodge rating, and then Evasion for percent dodge rating and damage taken while moving being reduced. Twin Blade, because we're a dual wield build, have to take this. 8 points into Duelist for percent dodge rating, that's the important part, but the increased damage is nice. Dodge and parry, glancing blow chance, and flat dodge rating, fantastic. and critical precision for, well, crit chance. Um, Cloak of Shadows for dexterity and glancing blow chance. Shroud of Dusk really only matters for the flat health here because we're taking apostasy. With my current setup, which is important that I have a 50% increased dodge rating suffix on this sword and 24% here, I get 102% chance to receive a glancing blow, which means every hit is just going to do 35% less damage, which helps offset the Twin Blade node and also combines with Death's Door up here. So that's what? Death's Door and Glancing Blow, 59% less damage taken, but then Twin Blade, you take 15% more, so I don't know if those are multiplicative or additive, but basically we completely offset Twin Blade. And then Pursuit is something I really only take for the move speed. If you just want more damage, I would move the points out of Pursuit into Once, or even Flash of Steel, though I think Once is more valuable than Flash of Steel because we don't care about the attack speed on this at all. But that being said, points into Once, points into Pursuit. You only need the 1 point in the Flash of Steel, however I have 5 because this build's level 98 at this point. 8 points into Weapons of Choice. I'll come back to this later, other than just we get 40% flat glancing blow chance. But yeah, I'll come back to this and talk about using a dagger instead for that crit chance there. Critical Eye for 5% crit chance, and just a travel node into All In for 75% flat crit multi. Of course, 8 points in Death's Door, similar to last build. This is kind of what inspired this build to begin with. 24 flat crit chance and 24% less damage taken. Fantastic. 5 points into Spellbreaker for the Frailty chance, which is nice, but more importantly is the mana regen. This is a very mana-intensive build. Any mana regen anywhere is useful. And then 5 points into Shadow Master. Increased shadow damage, very good. Not necessary, though. The only thing that really is necessary is Death's Door and All In. Once you can get those passives and you can cap out your crit chance with Shadow Cascade, you can probably get this build up and running. However, I don't know what level you would really need for that. So, yeah, I'll just go over my gear real quick. Helmet with just some generic health and whatnot. The swords, you're going to want katanas because they've got that implicit crit multi. I don't think this katana here is particularly great. I had an exalted katana with tier 6, almost max rolled crit multi, so I just wanted to use it. But what's important is that you get one of your 2 swords with tier 5 flat crit chance, because if you're going the double sword route, I'll talk about doing dagger and sword in a minute. Then you want to get 2 ivory rings, preferably with any resists you need, and then in mana regen. I use Crusader gauntlets. You could also use whatever the crit gauntlets are. I forget what they're called. But you could use those if you've got, say, a good Void Res Blessing, wherever that is on here. I've got mine's at 54%. So that combined with Crusader Gauntlets easily caps my Void Res. Antidote Vial, you combine the Antidote Vial with the passive Guile on the tree, pretty much caps out your Poison Res. Important here is that the crit multiplier is actually quite bad. 10% crit multi is very low, especially because even without it, we would still be at 466 or 67% crit multi. I would just get percent increased fizz damage here, ideally, but everything else is so good on this this relic that I just use it anyway. Then I have a really good belt with hybrid health, exalted crit avoidance, which that combined with the Grand Survival of Might caps out my crit avoid, and then some. And then mana regen. And the last one is just a tier 1 cleanse ailments on potion use, just generically useful. So that's all the gear that I've got. If I wanted to talk about what could be improved with this, mainly what I'm trying to get right now is replace my blessing from Spirits of Fire with Fire Resist, so I could get rid of the Fire Resist on my gloves, get even more health. And of course, replace the throwing attack damage on these gloves with Vitality, ideally, or maybe even crit chance. that might free up a passive out of Shadow Cascade or maybe some passives on my skill tree, but I would probably go for Invitus, the prefixes on the gloves. And then also trying to get physical resist. Yeah, higher roll on physical resist here. It doesn't need to be capped out, of course, but unfortunately 45 is the min roll. I got pretty unlucky. So, yeah, that's the build that I'm running currently. I'm having a total blast with this build as it's the closest I've gotten to level 100, the second closest character I have being 91, I think. Now, something that I messed around with for a while, or rather played for a while, was actually going the sword and dagger route instead of going dual swords. Of course, this gives you a ton more crit chance because of weapons of choice here, and it's probably what I would do if you're a much lower level, maybe like 70, because the build's definitely going to be less tanky at that point, because you're not going to be able to cap out your glancing blow chance. 40% flat glancing blow with the two swords is just way too big to really say no to later on with higher corruption. But if you were to run dagger and sword, you could easily take out the points in critical precision and put them anywhere else. You could go into agility if you like the 1 second of haste and the increased damage. You could come over here and pick up this focus fire for some extra dexterity. You could pick up once for more flat physical damage. You could do whatever with those points. But I think they're just better spent, going into critical precision and picking up weapons of choice for the double sword route. However, even just the tooltip says it's quite a big boost in damage because of the implicit flat physical or percent physical damage, and just I don't know. This is probably just a better rolled dagger than this is rolled as a sword. So again, you could definitely get a better sword here. I think flat physical damage would be better than the crit multi, but don't take my word on that. I don't know. I haven't experimented with that too much. Again, I just wanted to use the sword because it's got exalted crit multi and I think it's cool. It's also just a good sword in general. So yeah. Yeah, sorry if this feels a little bit rushed. I mostly just wanted to get this build, setup, guide, whatever you want to call it, out there before the new Path of Exile League starts, because I'll be taking a break from Last Epoch for a good while when that happens. So, yeah. You know what, I'll go ahead and run a random Monolith just to show what it looks like, because unlike the Chakram build, I don't have previous footage of me clearing and experimenting with the build already posted to the forums, so I'll just go ahead and clear a random mono. So, hope you guys enjoyed this build, whoever sees this. Yeah, let me know if there's any ideas you guys have for improving the build, anything crucial, like maybe a unique to slot in or swap out or something. I always just like talking and theorizing stuff like that. It's just fun. So anyway, here's the mono. See ya.
Not happening. Not happening. Easy. Too easy.